We're live.
I refuse to speak because that's my right. And as an American, doing a podcast from my couch, you can't stop me.
Yeah, let's talk about our podcast a little bit. So we've been doing. This is our 34th episode. So I'm personally very proud of ourselves. Being able to continue this, but at the same time, we haven't really gained any audience yet.
But, our brilliant marketing skills, word of mouth, and no posting.
I mean, we're doing our best, in terms of use of social media and, other stuff. I mean, I guess there's no other stuff. I'm sorry. But
social media and then just word of mouth.
Word of mouth?
It comes up a lot. People ask what we do,
right.
Why are you guys here at, at noon?
Yeah, and then I guess what makes our effort a little bit different from others is that we're not really putting in any money, right? So we're
not really
spending any money for marketing, and so it's very slow, man. Honestly, these days a lot of people are doing podcasts, and organic growth is very, very difficult.
Yeah. Right? And a lot of people that are doing podcasts have typically some type of resume behind them, so it incentivizes you to listen to them.
Right.
Like a lot of these, actually, some of these pro climbers now have podcasts, which I'm super stoked about because I would love to garner any insight I could. But, people like you and I, with our backgrounds being the engineering semiconductor department, I don't think there's a large pool of people that are interested in, people like us with that kind of background. But I think that just lends itself to the credibility of why we started this and the value in it, that we were willing to, like we talk about all the time, forsake the normal path to approach it, to approach our lives in a way we want to. And we've been rewarded for it way more than any type of financial status or popularity, I would say, could ever have brought in us. Say we got really popular after episode 10 or something like that, or it caught on, we would not be the same people today as we are now. And I really like the people that we're becoming, and we continually choose to be. And if this does become popular, then we'll have a new set of problems to tackle as far as identity is concerned, right? We always got to be just unapologetically ourselves, like we talked about before. We're always trying to be continually remove these masks, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's very hard though. I don't know about you, but for me, it is not that easy actually. I mean, I try to remind myself of that I'm just doing this for fun, and I more than that, maybe more than having fun, but I like to be at least genuine, authentic. But a lot of times sometimes I get nervous, and I'm hesitating because of certain reasons that may cause some, controversial arguments and debates, things like that. So there are a lot of factors that kind of make me hesitate. But I decided not to do that because I really feel like, the best way to really communicate with the people and put out my idea is to be as authentic as I can be, Yeah. So I think that's at least that's the mindset I'm gonna,
it's a great mindset. We were talking about this today at the gym, but we have this unique set of circumstances and experiences as individuals, right? You as your own individual, me as my own individual. And if we just choose to basically, summarize verbatim what other people have said, we're not really giving our own unique, valuable input and insight into the world.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff, all those things those wise men have said, or people that are considered smart by the centuries or the generations or the culture, it's been said.
Yeah.
Do I really need to say it again?
Right.
For them? Like, I want to kind of put my own twist on it, or my own thoughts and my perception into it. Give credit where credit's due, but...
Right. I mean, unless we're presenting their ideas.
Of course. And you can present an idea and say, hey, this is coming from Nietzsche. It's based loosely in that, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you gotta give
no plagiarism,
credit where
basically.
credit's due, for sure. You don't want to be, for lack of a better term, stealing from people.
Right. But also you don't want to like taint it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, more than anything, you don't want to taint it, right? You don't want
Exactly.
somebody to look at you and say, "Oh, fuck, Nietzsche must be an idiot. Look at this guy, this long-haired dude and this
Right.
pink-haired friend."
Yeah. Somebody really already criticized you about your look.
Oh, did they? I missed
Well,
it.
I mean, it was not a valid or criticism, but when we did last episode, religion, some people got really mad, and then he attacked on you, man.
Oh, sorry. I didn't even look. I didn't even see it. I remember somebody said something that van. Or
Yeah, that guy I'm talking about.
Oh, was
yeah.
it? I don't know. I just replied, I have a van. Because I was working on my van.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but
To all
that
the
being
haters
said-
out there, if you want to start a cult, you got to look like a cult leader. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm growing my hair out. I'm just trying to play the part, guys. So
Right.
if you want to come join us in the desert.
And also, our initial vision for this podcast, we just like to have conversation, right? So we don't really need to have that popular form these days for podcasts, the interview, right? But so our initial vision was that, well, we can, make changes to that form down the road. But I don't know if that's going to ever happen. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think we're
I'm not saying that I don't want to. I'm just not sure if that's ever going to happen.
the interviewing, more interviews,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
I think it will. I think we're just currently...
we did already twice.
We did,
Yeah.
and we've got another mic, right, to set it up properly so we can do it a good interview,
Right.
higher quality.
Yeah, I guess more than anything is circumstantial currently.
Yeah.
We don't have studio. I mean, as you can see, we're just doing this on a
Chilling
couch.
on the couch.
It's nothing special. We just blocked the window. Very, this basic lighting, basic camera, basic mics that are decent enough. I mean, we're just doing this with a very minimal, setting.
Yeah, it's extremely crude because we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
We don't need the best and the brightest and the newest tools to express ourselves. This is
Right.
good enough currently. Yeah, if people like it and can see through that, then cool.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll get more money to upgrade these types of things and have more interesting, engaging conversations, hopefully with the listeners out there, and then some people will interview as we meet. But yeah, like you said, we're kind of just in a situation right now where we got back from Thailand. There's some work that needs to be done on the vehicle, so doing that. We're just basically getting everything set up so we can move into the next phase of the
Right.
podcast, the coffee, and several other things in our lives. So thanks for bearing with us. But it's only going to get better.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
Yeah. I mean,
it's only going to get
that's
better.
why we're even trying to make money, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound good, but we need some sort of money to improve our podcast quality. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying we're gonna have expensive equipment, expensive studio, like MTV style crazy shit. That's what I'm talking about. But we need some sort of funds to make improvements.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And I think the way that we're currently doing the podcast, while from the
Yeah.
outside some episodes may seem a bit more incoherent than others,
yeah.
but this is part of the process of kind of learning and finding our style.
Yeah.
And we definitely take people's feedback very seriously and try to incorporate any of the criticisms
Yeah.
to resolve those issues. But I think from the get-go, we want this to be more loose form, conversational.
Yeah.
We're discussing ideas. Yeah, we do some homework and things beforehand just so we're not miscommunicating or, sharing incorrect information.
Right.
But a lot of these other podcasts, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's other podcasts I listen to where it's obvious a fair amount of it's scripted. They're reading off a script, and you don't really get that organic feeling from some of those people. And
Yeah.
again, I don't think that's necessarily
Bad.
wrong or
Right.
bad, but that doesn't speak to me in the way I want to communicate. I want to communicate just like, hey, my friend's sitting across from me. This is how I would talk to you.
Yeah.
Anybody who sees us on this camera and through these podcasts,
Yeah.
this is who we are in real life. Like, a hundredfold.
Yeah,
You
true.
get what you get. You see what you see. There's no difference.
Yeah.
And I think the closer we are to being that person in all circumstances, the better we're able to truly express ourselves and be understood, in turn be understood by others.
Yeah. Again, like I said, I think the best way to really communicate in any settings and with anybody is to be genuine, right? That's what we're trying to be. Again, we're not perfect because
Speak for yourself.
but at least that's our aim, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I spent over 10 minutes just talking about that. But I was gonna just say that's why I think Joe Rogan's podcast is so popular, because it's not, it's not staged. There's no script. I think that's, even though it's like 2-3 hours, like it flies by.
It does. It goes really quick because people are having interesting conversations. They're not talking about purely their bullet points, like, oh yeah, we got through that subject, let's move on. They go on tangents. They talk about random things that are totally unrelatable in some circumstances, but you get a sense that you're having you're sitting in on an authentic conversation with two people. And yeah, I don't think you can authentically,
as much as it can get, right?
Yes, as much as you can. I don't think anybody can authentically replicate that if they go in there thinking like, well, let's just have an authentic conversation. Like, that authentic conversation takes many different forms based on who you are and who you're with. So this is
why
like,
they're there.
Yeah,
right? And also,
and he's been doing it for a long time. Like, go back and look some of the old episodes. You'd be like, wow, this dude's a fucking idiot. Yeah, I mean, we're idiots too.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, don't get you wrong, we're educated in some specific areas. And
at some point in our lives, we're all idiots.
Yes, I'm an idiot still in a lot of regards. For sure. For sure. See, what do you say? Hurt my feelings. He said I'm an idiot.
We make progress. We talked about this earlier, that, your set of truths and your values continue to change. You progress,
I poured coffee in my hair.
You did? Oh, man.
But you're right. Yeah, the ideas shift and change as you get more experience and more opinions.
I know this is going to upset some people who are listening to this, that there's no, basically, those who think that there are absolute truths. And I'm not saying, okay, that's a really controversial subject that even for me, but one thing that I know is that truth can change.
Yeah.
For sure. And then for your values, it can change.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no progress. There is no advancement in your ideas. You're isolated. I'm sure a certain set of values don't change. Very fundamental stuff. And I'm not saying all fundamental stuff never change, but some fundamental stuff may not change. That's what I'm saying. But there are certain values that I shouldn't say meant to be changed, but it should change.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, again, you're isolated. You're not being enlightened.
Yeah. And I think there's a real power in just the belief that things can change. If you truly believe that things can change and have the potential to change, then suddenly you start kind of reorganizing your ideas and thoughts around your values and your systems. Like, okay, well, maybe I value... let's try to do something not very controversial. Maybe I value eating meat.
Right.
I value it strongly. I say this cannot change. Is that, I don't know. It's controversial,
You're gonna upset
man.
a lot of vegetarians here.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Actually, I was gonna say in their benefit. Like, if I'm somebody who says I identify as a meat eater, this is part of my identity, constitutes who I am, and it cannot change, then you might never ever know. Like, oh shit, look at all these other vegetarian options that are not only great for me, delicious, healthy environment, blah blah blah, have all these other benefits, but maybe the meat you were eating actually had some genetic problem with you. Like, you have some genetic issue with meat that you're totally unaware of.
Yeah, that's a really good practical example. But I think also that, to your point,
I eat meat.
That kind of attitude makes you more open-minded. You're more flexible, which means that you're not, which is kind of, antithesis to bigoted. Close-minded, So, otherwise, why do you even have conversation with anybody? Why? Because you're not gonna listen to them.
That's a good point.
You know. But when I talk to people, even though I have really firm, opinions and set of values, for sure, yeah, I'm not gonna say that I don't have those, but at least I'm open-minded.
Yeah.
I'm willing to change my opinion and beliefs and values
Yeah.
if you can convince me.
Yeah.
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 And then that can be only done through really speculative spirits. Otherwise you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which leads us to today's
Dun,
topic.
dun, dun.
15 minutes in.
Sorry, free version guys.
You only have 4 minutes left.
We
We
got to
haven't
rush.
started our subject today. Yeah, which leads us to our topic today, which is philosophy. Yeah.
We're going to talk about philosophy.
Yeah, one of our greatest passions, I would say.
By far the biggest intellectual passion I have,
Yeah, for sure.
hands down,
Mm-hmm.
intellectually speaking.
So we're very excited. But you have only 3.5 minutes left for free listeners. If you want to listen to the rest of our discussion, please
There's the hook. There's the bait. You gonna take it or what?
subscribe to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/the theory of living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Currently, we have 5 Patreons, by the way.
Yeah, and
mostly
for
family members.
hey,
Not even family. All of the family members, actually.
well, that's because everybody that subscribes we consider family.
Yeah, but okay. To be fair, though, we never asked them.
Yeah.
Because we thought that. We really want to grow this organically. Now the 5 seems a lot, but if we have 1,000, 2,000, the 5 is nothing, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
eventually, it doesn't even matter whether
Yeah.
or not they help us,
Yeah.
right? I really appreciate them, of course, but that's why we didn't even ask them. The friends. and all.
Yeah. Well, also, again, anybody that subscribes to this, or you hit the like, or you comment, or whatever, we're just appreciative that you're engaging
Mm-hmm.
with what we're putting out there, even
Yeah.
if you think we're idiots, even if you know it to be true.
Right. So let's move on because we only have 2.5 minutes for the free listeners. We're going to talk about philosophy today. Where do we start, man? Where do we start?
Some would say the beginning, but I think that'd be stupid. You never start at the beginning.
How about we start with our own experience? Yeah? I think, I can recall a lot of moments in my life, but I think the first very relevant moment in my life was I actually talked about this when we did a theory of us, I think,
Episode 8.
or epistemology, or one of them. But that was the first moment that I really took an action with my kind of passion. I was like 3rd grade or 2nd grade, something like that, and then I had this coupon for a bookstore, which was equivalent to like $2, something like that. But you could buy a book by then. So I went to a bookstore and then I chose epistemology. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was not epistemology. It was
Study of words, right?
Yes. History. What was the name that I told you?
Hang on a second here. It's coming to me.
I already forgot. But it was, I think, it was about history, the subject of history. So basically, he was arguing that the common debate that we're having today, still today, whether or not history could be subjective, objective, how one historian should write history and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably like the first action that I took for my intellectual curiosity. Yeah. Which is not crazy, like irrelevant, completely relevant to philosophy, That's
No,
why I chose that
not
moment.
at all. Not at all.
And then it was like I said, I was like 10 years old, something like that. I was pretty young, so.
Yeah. I don't remember necessarily my first engagement with philosophy, but I read, like I said, grew up Christian, read the Bible a lot, and I always found singular verses and things of that nature, like words, basically. Words had heavy meaning and impact on me. So even like motivational quotes or all those types of things. But typically they came from the Bible for me, just because that's what I had the most access to. And there was tidbits of like truth revealed to me in those passages, which is ironic, right? Because we were just, again, not a last episode necessarily shitting on Christianity, but pointing out a lot of the fatalistic flaws that it has. But for me, I could still find truth in those things. And so slowly but surely, I just kept looking for more people that had access to truth and want to find the truth. And it was nice because philosophers typically were trying to give me a truth or give people a truth without a grand narrative, it seemed like. They were just like, this is kind of like my best idea of how it works. And that's how I felt. Even reading that, and of course there's some philosophers where you feel like, wow, they're pretentious and they think they have it all figured out. But on average, I found most things I read and people I read were approaching it from the point of, I think I'm wrong, but this is what I've come up with. And I really got a sense of, wow, they're very humble in their approach here. They're taking a very level-headed approach. And so I think that part really intrigued me. And the first philosopher started it all for me by far was Socrates. Yeah. You know, just asking why. I was like, who is this guy? Because I'm curious. That's what I'm asking about everything. In my mind. I may not vocalize or verbalize it to people, but I was always asking why. Here it is, this guy, you know, asking everybody why, to the point that he was even sentenced to death for corrupting the youth, right? And then defying the gods, I guess. There was a more specific terminology for that, but corrupting the youth were the charges brought against him. And then he defended himself. And he threw it basically purposefully, because he was like, fuck you, basically. And then he was charged with committing suicide via drinking hemlock, and all his friends were like, you know, don't do this. We can get you out. We can get you to safety. You're going to be exiled, whatever. But no, it's like, why should I be afraid of death? It might be the best thing for me. I've never experienced it, so why are we arriving to the conclusion it's bad? You know, look at this human arrogance. This thing I know nothing about, I've already put as bad. You know?
And then that kind of spirit captured you.
Oh my goodness, totally captured me. I'm still captured by that idea. It's like, is this actually anything? And you come into it open-minded with open eyes and just let the experience happen and then arrive to an opinion afterwards. But you should never arrive to an opinion beforehand. Then you're setting yourself up for failure potentially. I think in a lot of situations.
Or even potentially corrupt your experience.
Dude. Yes. How many times, even yesterday, so we went to go see Thor. And we're getting back on movies.
We have a lot of things to say about that.
But just saying, like, you didn't want to know the movie review score, right?
I didn't want to.
Who wants to know that? Because I can formulate my own thoughts and my ideas and opinions about it. And then I'll find out afterwards.
But even if we know that, and if we watch a movie knowing the critics' reviews and scores prior to the movie, even slightly you get affected by it, you know? So I don't like that. I wanna enjoy fully on my own. You know, that's why I don't want to hear it. I don't want to nothing. And that's why, you know, we sometimes, it happened to be our scores were comparable to, you know, public score on this one, at least, but the Matrix one was not.
So far from it.
But anyway, we're 25 minutes in, almost. And
our free version is over. Get out of here, you freebies. I didn't even realize you're still in here. Get out. Okay. Back to the page.
Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you next week. Bye. Hello, Patreon members.
Our beloved Patreon members. Sorry about leaving those other guys, you know who, in here, but you guys paid. You've got the entry ticket, and we're collecting. Happy to see you here. Same time as last week. Don't know why you're sticking around, but we appreciate you. So philosophy, right? I mean, let's just immediately define it. It's the love of wisdom, right? That's what philosophy is. The love of wisdom and trying to understand understand fundamental truths.
Etymologically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference, right? Epistemology is separation of it's a branch of philosophy,
Right.
for sure, right? It's basically validating how you separate opinion from truth, right? So things like the scientific method and all those things, that'd be like a form of epistemology or a byproduct of it, because we're creating
It's a sub branch.
yeah, we're creating rules in order to define what truth is.
Right. But also, I think, I really love those sub branches because, yes, as we progress, as we get better and better, I think it's very natural to have those sub branches because at first your knowledge is very limited. So very naturally you talk about things in general, all together. But as you progress, you accumulate those knowledge, and then you need to talk about more specialties.
Yeah, you scope, you narrow down, you hone into it, get into the nitty gritty.
Right.
And that's super interesting.
Oh yeah.
Because each branch has its own problems and wild successes as you become an expert.
And then, they affect each other, they influence each other positively, negatively, I mean, those are all intermingled. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
But, since we're talking about philosophy, I mean, we cannot really, I always say this, I don't know why I have this habit, but I think it's important to talk about history a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, you have to understand the cultural relation.
Yeah, so as we know, the Western philosophy really started with the Greeks, right? Specifically Thales was started.
Earth, fire, wind, earth. No.
At the beginning of 6th century BC. How do we know? Because he predicted an eclipse, and then it can be dated according to astronomers.
Astronomers, yeah.
Astronomers, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Astrology?
Yeah, they calculated, and then it happened in 585 BC. That's how they know Thales lived in 6th century BC.
Wow.
Yeah. So Thales started philosophy, and it's just impossible to talk about Western philosophy without talking about the Greeks. Yeah. It's just not possible.
Well, before we get off Thales real quick, gotta jog my memory here. Wasn't he also the one? He realized the patterns and the seasons and things like that, and then he took a capitalistic adventure.
Right.
And, like, borrowed all.
Yeah, so he didn't really have to do it, but he saw the pattern of the weather, the climate, basically, and then he foresaw that there's going to be drought, whatever. So he rented all the olive pressing machines, and then he rented out when those things are in need the most.
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
And then he's like, I don't have to do it, but I'm going to show you how if I can do it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he was financially motivated.
Yes.
He just wanted to show that he can do it.
Yeah.
And he made a shit ton of money. I don't know exactly how much it was, but
yeah, I mean, that's the power, though.
I mean, think that it shows how much, he was an anomaly at the time, because most people believe that, this has to do with God, this has to do with this, more superstitious reason. And at the same time, it's like, no, this is a pattern, guys. It's going to happen again. I will show you, and something like that, right?
Yeah, and in all fairness to all those people, it's easy to look back and say, look how ignorant and stupid they were. Let's face it, I'd probably be one of those people. You would probably be one of those people. Yeah. It's very difficult to ever break free of what you believe, the collective belief that you're born into in the time period. Very difficult to even pierce the veil and think outside the box. And then to be able to go to such great lengths to prove it in a relatable way to people in that time, to be like, yo, check this out. There's some value in thinking like this.
Yeah.
Like there is value even if he doesn't make money or, show it in that means. There's a huge value.
Yeah.
And I think personally the value in our lives is obviously like the freedom of choice to go pursue the passions we want. That's what we've arrived at. It's super useful. But it's super useful even in our jobs in the past,
Yeah.
Well, okay, I understand this is happening. I understand that this part needs to be replaced. But why?
Yeah.
And then you get down to like base level understanding, fundamental things, and you start to slowly but surely realize, this is far more complex than we've ever given it credit for.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason we admire those philosophers, even though they had some crude thoughts and ideas at the time, but only because they were subject to, they were not entirely free from the circumstantial
Yeah.
ideas, right? And the ideas of their history, their time. That's why. But the reason we admire them is that, like you said, they were the ones who really thought outside the box, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to go against the flow sometimes, because you naturally have that doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
is this correct? Because
Yeah.
everybody says no, But when you have firm belief, and not just belief, but you speculate and you investigate, that's the spirit of philosophers.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the true love of understanding.
Yeah.
And that wisdom that
Mhm.
comes from understanding. And we talk about this all the time in normal day-to-day talk, but the difference between like wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom comes from experience, knowledge comes from the understanding, not through experience, right? Typically that's how we like separate the two.
Mhm.
We say, yeah, knowledge is something you can read, you can understand, you get conceptually, you understand it.
Mhm.
Wisdom is experiential understanding of it. Like,
Yeah.
you've gone through the process of it, so you have wisdom in that regard. And again, I don't want to get too caught up on words here and vocabulary, because it's easy to get lost in the weeds.
Mhm.
But the love of that knowledge will change your life.
Mhm.
When you fall in love with learning, it
Yeah.
changes everything. We talk about this all the time, that great teachers, a good teacher, is what makes any material interesting.
Yeah. For sure.
Somebody who's able to teach and explain something in a relatable way can teach you so much. And one of the biggest issues we run into with a lot of the knowledge we have, because we have an abundance of knowledge, we have too much data, too much knowledge to even know how to properly suss out or use.
Mhm.
So we get a lot of people that are teaching that are not passionate.
Mhm.
They're actually not meant to be teachers. Like, God bless you. God bless any of you that want to teach but suck at teaching. You can learn it and you can grow the skill set for sure. But a lot of people, I think, don't realize that there's only a few people that are called to be teachers
Yeah.
or even have the capability.
Right.
And you're...
This is just more an objective
Yeah.
analysis, right?
Yes, this
we're
is
not really
nobody
we're not-
particularly.
yeah.
Nobody.
Right.
There's nobody particularly.
but we understand, especially in this country, in my opinion, being a teacher is goddamn hard.
Yeah. I
Hard.
look, all props, all credit
So
where credit is due. You guys...
respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just
Nothing
saying,
but
if you're one of those people
yeah,
that
but I
this
agree
is
with
not
you,
for
yeah.
you,
Mhm.
you got to look inside yourself and maybe this
Yeah.
isn't for me.
True.
Or maybe you need to be teaching something else.
Mhm.
Or maybe you just need to re-spark your passion and your love for that thing, because, I mean, it is such an attractive quality. Even kids see it. When you're passionate about something,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, kids can be shitheads, but they want to. They feed back what they see in you. They're like, wow, they're interested by that. I'm going to be interested by that. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like we mirror what we see
Yeah.
in a lot of social situations.
They have power to really save some kids, at least.
Yeah, you can change
they do.
somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. So this is just one pro of philosophy, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Philosophy oftentimes gets, I think, falsely conflated with difficult to understand things, kind of this vague, esoteric text. Very complex, very seemingly esoteric, like unusable, old, ancient. Like fucking, this shit was written on a papyrus. But philosophy is just the love of knowledge. It's just learning. That's all it is.
Yeah, really it is. And also, we were talking about the Greeks a little bit. The Greeks, I don't know what happened to Greece. Of course, I mean, it's been thousands of years, of course. But when I look at sometimes the accomplishment by the Greeks, it just makes me wonder what happened, But I mean, that's what happens to every civilization.
Goddamn
right?
sophists, let me tell you, there's
But
goddamn people on that TV.
They invented mathematics, of course, yeah, mathematics, like arithmetic and geometry exist in Egypt and
Yeah, the Middle East had
Babylon.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the deductive reasoning really comes from, it's an invention of the Greeks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the real mathematics, which is,
And of course, maybe there's some like history out there that we're not aware of, or there's some discoveries in other parts of the world that just haven't infiltrated Western civilization.
Yeah.
So we're not aware. So again, we're not trying to give credit to just one particular group of people, but as far as we're aware, like
well,
they're,
as far
they're huge,
as we
right?
know so far,
Yeah,
that's the case.
Yeah.
They invented science, they invented mathematics. Again, deductive reasoning, which is the core of advanced mathematics from just mere arithmetic and geometry, and also importantly, philosophy.
Yeah,
Yes.
pretty important.
And
one.
then the reason for that is that. So really, the writing was invented by Egyptians, right? Around 4000 BC. It really started with pictures of the objects intended, and then it was conventionalized so that they can communicate better, like in writing forms. Ideograms, whatever. Like just like the case in China too, still today. And then the Greeks added vowels.
Oh, huge, right?
To the alphabet writing, and that really, stimulated, the advancement of literature. That's why they could come up with, philosophy, those writings. There's a reason. It was not just magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a long time, right? We're talking about a very long time for all these progressive systems to occur.
Yeah.
And again, the Greeks just happened to be in the right place, the right time, historically speaking.
Yeah,
right?
geographically, they're really close to Phoenicia, which was like the northern part of Africa. They were the ones who invented alphabet writing, but the Greeks took them and they added vowels to it, and then it was just whole another thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think one of the shortcomings of the way we interpret the world for a lot of people is that, again, like I love that you bring up historical context, even geographical context, because it's so easy to just say, well, look at what they discovered. Like, they're brilliant. Like, we should just follow everything they've done without giving credit where credit's due. Like, they're a byproduct of a lot of things coming together and working out in such a way. And then again, what survives history, right? Who wins the wars, who writes the history books, what survives the ages and the times, so that we can say, yeah, these guys did it. But it's all these factors that come together that made this thing occur. So, yeah, there's some particular ones we obviously fixate on because that's historically what we've done. But we also can't forget to give credit where credit's due. And so, I appreciate you bringing that up. And again, for anybody out there, if you love knowledge, you love learning, you see somebody with a skill set that you want to learn it, you have to understand there were so many inputs that came into them learning that skill. And if you talk to them, they might say, well, actually, all I did was X, Y, Z. Do these 3 things and you'll acquire this skill set. But maybe they're not representing the reality correctly because they're just using, their human senses and their beliefs and their ideas about how they arrived to that skill.
Yeah.
If I say, hey, man, I got this level of climbing by I wake up every morning at 6, I eat at 2, and I make sure to go to bed at 8 o'clock. If I said those 3 things are what got me to the level I'm at, you'd be kind of like, what the hell is he talking? He didn't even say anything about climbing. But people do this all the time. They miss or they conflate a lot of these inputs with these certain outcomes. And that's just misrepresentative of the actual situation. Yeah. And I think we do that a lot in our day-to-day lives or, maybe even politics. We say, well, this is happening because of this. But really, a lot of time it seems to be heavy guesswork. And again, that's the amazing thing about philosophy. We're like, okay, we need to come up with some better systems here.
Yeah.
Some better ways to say like, no, yeah, this is why it occurs. We can prove it over and over again.
Yeah. I think, philosophy was invented so that they could systematically speculate the curious things that they wanted to find out. And in that sense, obviously, it's been thousands of years. what, 2,600 years, something like that, 2,800 years. We've progressed a lot. Philosophy has progressed a lot.
Yeah.
Which means that I think still philosophy is one of the best system that we have for most comprehensive investigation.
Yeah.
Other than science.
Yeah. I agree.
Obviously, they are not really separable, but it seems like more and more being separated, right?
Yeah, I mean, each and every
But initially,
day,
they were not separable at all. Very initially.
Well, that's
they were the
because,
same thing.
I mean, so many of these philosophers were like polymath geniuses that were, you know, look at him, you know, math genius. Look at Hume. He was a historian, actually renowned historian, more than he was a philosopher until he died. So I'm just saying, there's so many of these people that were experts in multiple fields. I think philosophy and the love of knowledge and being interested in philosophy only helps to contribute at garnering better perspective and truth in every area of your life. It doesn't matter if it's the math, the sciences, history, virtues, ethics. Like, philosophy has a place in every single study.
Yeah.
Because it inherently challenges why you think and why you believe something.
Yeah.
Like, it raises that question immediately. And we were talking about this the other day, that religion and science are becoming polarized by the same groups of people. People that grip onto religion and say, this is the absolute truth. And you have people on the opposite end that grip onto science and say, no, this is the absolute truth.
Yeah.
When in reality, both those things constitute our life. Philosophy at least goes to say, I don't know. I don't know which one's true, but here's my ideas on it, and here's what I think. Again, could totally not be true. And it, of course, this varies from philosopher to philosopher, but I think that's the beautiful thing about philosophy. It doesn't necessarily offer you an absolute truth and a very specific way to live. It can,
but let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Oh, sorry. It continually tells you and asks you and pleads with you to shed belief.
Yeah.
To shed your idea of what everything is and try to adopt a new perspective.
Yeah.
And you're constantly doing this over and over. Every new philosopher comes and basically shits on the previous philosopher and says, look at all these assumptions you were making. You thought the world worked like this. Explain this, blah, blah, blah. They basically discredit, disprove it. And they don't do it in a kind of like, some have, mocking way. But they build upon this over and over.
Yeah,
I think that's so cool. Whereas math, if you say 2 + 2 is 5, they'd be like, nope, that doesn't work under these sets of conditions. Useless information. You're not remembered by history. But Thales, look at him. He was wrong about so much. We're talking about him all this time later.
Yeah. I mean, even, I don't know how long exactly, but next hundreds of years, all of them are wrong. I mean, his successors who... wanted to answer this question, that what is this world made out of? Some say water, some say fire.
Yep.
Things like that. And I think it was Parmenides was saying, oh, things are never changing, and the other guys, oh, things are always changing. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Then you get Epicurus. You can't step into the same river twice.
Yeah.
And these. Again, beautiful concepts that still have value today.
And and also really important role of these questions and answers. Yes, those are not true. We know that they're not true. This world is not made out of fire. That's just a silly answer. Even 5-year-old kid could say can say that's wrong. They know that it's wrong. But really, the important part of it is that those collective efforts, challenges, make our progress possible. Otherwise we can't progress. Meaning that if you don't ask questions, if you don't try to investigate current matters, you're not challenging conventions. You're not challenging the set of values that are considered the standards today. Right? Yes, standards at the moment are true. We universally consent that this is true.
Yes.
Because it's working, right? It works for us. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't challenge it.
Correct.
If we don't challenge it, we're not gonna be able to advance.
Yeah. There's a certain level of conformity that's necessary to exist and survive. But if all you ever do is conform, then you never ever get a chance to potentially change
Yeah.
everything. And you know what? Fuck changing everything. I'm not gonna say that. You never get a chance to change your world. The most rich experience you'll ever have is your own personal one.
Yeah.
Because guess what, guys? It's the only one you can experience.
Yeah.
As far as we're aware right now, as far as I'm aware, that seems pretty close to as factual as I can get. You only get your experience.
Yeah.
So why not make it the coolest, most unique one you can? And to do that, you have to challenge what you've adopted and adapted as truth your entire life. What you've been told is truth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you might be misunderstood. A lot of the great thinkers of their time were misunderstood. I'm not saying we're great thinkers. I'm definitely not even trying to say that. All I'm saying is...
Well, you're a thinker, though.
Yes, I'm
we're
a
all
thinker.
thinkers,
And I'm totally fine with... At least I've expressed myself and lived my life trying to understand deeper, like, not only personal truths, but seemingly universal truths as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the peace that has come from that is one that far surpasses a peace that's been ever offered to me by science, by religion, by virtues, by ethics. It's not even close. It doesn't even come close. The personal satisfaction that philosophy has offered me and allowed me to grow and continue to does is unparalleled.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah, I would say so. Philosophy has been, oppressed by a lot of, authorities, starting with Christianity and Catholic Church and today science, right? Because, yes, science has made us to progress immensely. But also at the same time, today, what we're looking at is that if you don't fit into this any narrative offered by science, then you're just ostracized. You're a crazy person. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but I understand the science today is very advanced. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, we know a lot of truths about universe and things like that, but also at the same time, we don't know a lot of them. Yeah. So if you're too rigid, then we can't really. It just kills our flexibility for thinking.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at these things, religion, philosophy, science, they're tools. They're tools used to be used by us. Like, if you're trying to use the science tool to explain, like, interpersonal relationships, you're probably going to have a very difficult experience. Like, it's going to be very hard. Whereas if you're trying to use the religion tool for medicine, people are going to die. Thoughts and prayers, you're going to be healed. Like, I'm sorry, some of these things don't work for specific circumstances. But to me, that's what makes philosophy like the shit, like the fucking cream of the crop. Wow, look at its applicability across seemingly every field. Usefulness, pure usefulness. Yeah. And that's, that's hard for me to dismiss. It's hard for me to dismiss and not want to share with other people and kind of give the viewpoint that this is the value of philosophy. Yeah. And I feel like it needs a rebranding. It needs to be modernized. Yeah. I don't want to lose the roots and even the word philosophy. Yeah. Because it has so much strong meaning. But every time somebody talks to me about, what I believe or life or why I conduct myself a certain way, I'm always talking about philosophy. Yeah. And I think more people are going to be interested in philosophy when they see that, like, yo, those people are cool and they believe in philosophy and they're interested in philosophers. Oh, shit, philosophy can be cool. Yeah. And open-minded and unique. Oh, how neat. How interesting. And then also, by being interested in philosophy, you get to look at so many different ideas, so many different dissections of the world. Yeah. You get to, like, see it cut up and chopped in so many different ways to explain why things are the way they are. You don't get that in very many things. Yeah. You can even look at something that's wrong and still be like, wow, that dude was wrong, but he's considered one of the greatest thinkers of all time. Yeah. Whoa, how did that happen? Yeah. Because he challenged convention. Like you're saying, he challenged the norm. He propelled us forward. She propelled us forward. Whether it's in virtues, ethics, math, science, history, all these things. Yeah. Like, fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, also I'd like to mention that, philosophy has been progressing with the help of science as well, right? Because psychology and neuroscience and things like that, we have better understanding, and therefore philosophy has been, influenced by science as well. So we're not saying that science is, bad or philosophy is good. We're not.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really talking about it. We're more talking about the importance of individual, you know, sectors of philosophy and science. And I think science is still like, okay, initially they were not separable, but I think still they're really, really closely related too, right?
I think
Because
so.
philosophy, yes, science, just like a philosophy, you speculate, investigate, pose a question, try to answer. Yeah, that's exactly what philosophy does. In science, you work with evidence, equations and things like that. But philosophy does the same thing with words and logic,
Yeah.
right? That's why they're applicable. That's why they're not just mere thoughts
Yeah.
or opinions, because they give you these answers and questions in the form of very firm logic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is also very scientific.
Yeah,
Just because
yeah.
it doesn't have, measurable quantities or other things doesn't mean that philosophy is unscientific.
Yes, exactly. I totally agree. I think if philosophy was to be, if it was to be not an emotion, but a character trait, I would say philosophy is humility. Like, without a doubt, to be a philosopher, you have to be humble.
Yeah.
So deeply humble. Because all you do as a philosopher, I mean, you know this, like, not to say we're philosophers in that regard, but all we do constantly is have our views changed and realize, oh, fuck, I was wrong about my opinion or idea on that. You know what I mean? Where it's gotten to the point now in my life, I actually don't adopt any, like, belief, really. It takes a lot for me to adopt something and say I believe that. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, but that's probably wrong in some way, so take the good from it. I'm willing to let go, like barely hold on to it. Like, I appreciate it for the time I have it, but I also know at any moment this belief can shift, and it should. As things change, this belief should shift naturally, as everything else does in our lives. Because again, I think this is the nature of our realities. Everything is always shifting. Nothing is stagnant. Nothing ever stays the same.
Yeah, I agree. And just going back to the point I was making is that they're not separable. They're influencing each other. They've been doing this for forever, and we can see that science really could make this huge leap after Kant, right? Because his theory of, why am I blanking? Kant's
Blanking. Do.
why am I blanking? His
Are you
book.
talking about transcendent? Oh, blah, 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 blah. You're
You're blanking.
hang on. Oh my
That still
god,
comes over the first-
it's literally the most, arguably, I mean, Kant's one of the most pivotal philosophers in all time in history.
Yeah.
Like, changed the course of history.
We talked about it.
Oh my
actually.
god,
Didn't
we've
we
talked
do-
about this all the time. We've talked about
Wait a
Kant.
second. Didn't we do entire episode?
Yeah, we did an entire episode on Kant.
Whoa. Yeah. We
Yeah,
probably
remember,
talked
'cause
about
he
it. I
was-
mean, you can refer back to that
Oh,
episode,
man.
but
Don't smoke weed.
by the way, we just started to think that because we do edibles pretty much every day.
Daily, like before going to bed. So.
Yeah, before going to bed. Yeah, guys, we don't do that like from the get-go. Right? We don't do that. It's because it helps us to sleep better, right? And
Yeah.
just relax. That's it. So we typically do edibles like at 6:30 or 7, a few hours before we go to sleep, and I get great sleep, man. But we started thinking that like maybe it's affecting our short-term memories.
Yeah,
you know?
recently
Like-
I feel like my ability to recall efficiently is deteriorated. And again, I don't know. This could potentially be, we've been training a lot, and we're slowly getting the diet back to like eating more. We've been under eating and all these other things, so that might be related to it. But I mean, I think that maybe that's it more than anything, because it seems weird that would start now. But
I know.
isn't it
I'm kinda
easy? It's
afraid a
easy to
little bit.
dismiss because I just want to keep eating them.
Yes. Maybe we should switch to smoking.
Well, I don't think it's the way we're consuming the THC that's the problem. It might just be the THC.
A couple of words popped up in my head. Pure reasoning.
Yeah, I mean that's close, but it's
It's not. Yeah,
not it.
it's not the entire. We're talking about philosophy, and then we can't even fucking name his book.
I know. Oh,
We can
man.
look it up now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not the important. We already did entire episode on Immanuel Kant. Very, very influential. Probably one of the most influential persons ever lived in the
Yes.
history of humankind.
Yes.
Again, because
That we've documented it for sure.
yes,
Yeah.
well, because science had could have huge leap because of his theory, right? So yeah, I mean, philosophy and science are not really separable, and therefore, I it's really hard to watch and see this division between science and philosophy.
Dude,
today.
honestly,
Yeah.
it breaks my heart a bit.
Yeah.
You know, it breaks my heart. I've got a really good friend who's, doing her PhD in math. Every
Yeah.
time we talk about, philosophy and math and where they meet, it's, mostly entirely dismissive of it. And it's just, it's hard, man. I don't know. It's hard for me when anybody wants to dismiss philosophy because, like I said, again, the level of humbleness that it brings to your life and peace in that way of like, it's okay. Like I can't truly know entirely, so it's okay that I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least I think it's okay to have different opinions
For sure,
or
totally
different
different.
passion. Maybe their passion for mathematics, whatever it is, right? It is just too strong that exceeds
Yeah.
just beyond our level of I guess where we can have a conversation, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's we should be able to at least. Doesn't matter if it takes 2 hours, whatever, right? I mean, we should be able to at least have conversation and debate.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Wow, this is gonna bother me. What is? No.
Oh, critical pure reasoning, is that?
Something close.
Okay, let's look it up.
Okay, we're looking it up. We're cheating. It's not the criticism, pure reason. I think that's a. Critique of pure reason.
Okay.
Critique.
Critique of pure reason. Well, it was close.
Yeah, close. So go read that book, and I guess that's where we're gonna end this podcast because apparently we need to go study more too. We're idiots. No, it's the weed, man. It's not me. It's
No,
the
we have
drugs.
we're gonna
No, we continue. I'm just
Oh, okay.
being
Okay.
playful.
Yeah, so actually when we decided to do this episode on philosophy, we actually wanted to talk more about why do we need a philosophy today,
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Actually, we did have some discussion on this 2 days ago,
Yeah.
but I already forgot everything that
Useless.
But I think we touched on some of them, right? Because we should be able to continue to progress in parallel and influence each other. I think that's why. I think that's probably at least one of the most important reasons. Because and then also really it goes against, if you kill philosophy, it really goes against our nature, speculative nature. Like
Yeah.
we want to keep asking why, and then we want to answer. I mean, that's part of the fun, isn't it?
Oh,
Like when you
yeah.
ask why, and then I can answer a lot of times. Yeah, for sure. But that's where the fun begins.
Yeah.
Like I get to investigate.
I think that's the beautiful thing. It's an unsolvable puzzle
Yeah.
that continually beckons us to try and solve and answer it.
And that's
That's
why
what
we have
philosophy does.
conversation all the time.
Dude, all the time. We talk about this literally, guys. I mean,
Yeah.
hours every day.
Yeah.
I was
Just randomly, right? We're walking
Oh,
out
yeah, I
the
was just about
gym.
to say
You're
that.
doing that, over there. I'm doing this over. Just one of us just walks up to each other.
we just
Another
start,
one and just
hey
starts
man, I
to
just
talk.
had this thought about.
Yeah, exactly. And then we start conversation like we do this all the time. In the car when we're eating. Just randomly, right? But
Yeah.
it
It dominates our conversation and our
Yeah.
thoughts and our ideas.
And that's what makes us think all the time, and then makes us to wanting to read things, wanting to find out more things, wanting to talk to people. Because now, on top of, because years ago, maybe even 2 years ago, we still loved the philosophy, but it was a little bit different experience, right? Because now we're valuing experience so much that that's what made me like so open-minded, that I want to listen to people. Like I want to know what kind of like important core values they have through their experiences. Like I want to listen to them, and then why,
Yeah, I think this is the biggest critique anybody can make of some specific philosophers, specifically Kant, and it's been thrown against him a lot, so I'm going to throw it right against him. He had no experience outside of intellectual. He lived in
largely,
he never traveled further than, I think
he was a hermit.
Complete hermit.
Yeah.
Had no real world experience. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously you can have a huge impact on the world without real world experience, but man, this real world experience stuff, I will never ever, I say that, I'm going to hold myself to it, I hope so, I'll never ever trade anything else for it. A 9 to 5, a kid, wife, I will never make that trade again. I didn't have a kid, or I've abandoned them. What am I talking about? No, the value is so strong, though, it would take something remarkable for me to even be willing to entertain the idea of exchange.
But also, it's subject to change, though, right? I mean, you
completely,
right?
Yeah. It's like I said, it's open in my hand, right? Yeah. Like right now, that is very true in this moment.
Yeah.
The set of beliefs is accurately true in this situation.
Yeah.
Again, I think truth can only be, by definition, true based on, basically other factors that make it true, right? In relation to something else, it can only be true. It can't be true in and of itself, right? We need something to compare it to.
Yeah.
Or circumstance, basically an equation.
Mm-hmm. Or perspectives.
Yeah, or perspectives, right?
Yeah.
But, dude,
So, yeah, when we're talking about, like, even years ago, we have, like, we value romantic love a lot, but, like, recently, this is a recent change, guys. We're talking about, maybe I don't want to. I don't want that anymore. I don't know. Like, so,
traditional sense.
Traditional sense of romantic love relationship. And again, like, I'm not against it. It's just, my recent changes in thoughts and my philosophy, it kind of made me start to think that I think I value my freedom for exploration of ideas and experiences more than anything else. And the only reason I think that way is that if I'm in a traditional, conventional relationship, then that's gonna really interfere with my freedom. That's the only reason I started to think that this could be against my spirit. Yeah, but it can change. So I don't know, but that's just my recent thought about.
That's the thing, because you're open to things changing. For whatever reason, it feels like the universe. I hate it. Sounds so spiritually weird and wooey, but when you're open to change, suddenly you get it. But when you're more open to things, it seems like life naturally gives you more things because you're more able to accept them.
Right.
I don't know why this is the case. I really don't. And again, this is just my personal experience, but others speak about this very real phenomena. I don't know if we can categorize it via the means and tools of science. Philosophically, we can, right? Because it's not bound to the rules and regulations of science. And that's the beautiful thing. It's also not bound by the rules and regulations of religion, where I have to be a believer. I have to have faith that's independent of my experience. I think that's fucking awesome. Philosophy is the one thing where, man, there's really no rules. You got to make a good argument for other people to buy it or believe into it, but it's for your own personal value.
Yeah, and then that is the entire spirit of initial philosophers. The Greeks, the reason they invented philosophy was that they were encouraged to have this freedom of thought, not bound in the fetter of conventional orthodoxy.
Yeah.
That's why they were so good at it. And that's the spirit I like to have, I want to have freedom of thoughts.
Yeah. And not to say every Greek was this fucking enlightened dude, right? Obviously,
right, we're not saying that. Yeah.
They put people to death, the sophists fucked it for a lot of people. But the thing is, though, when you're really on that path and you got that bone you're chewing, you're on it, you're like, I don't care. I don't care about what other people are doing, what they think. I'm on to something here. I can feel it. I'm on to it.
And historically speaking, it's just that every civilization that had freedom of thought um, came up with something great. The Greeks, China back then. I mean, of course, in a different sense, but also United States of America. The reason that the U.S., not just because of money, were able to. I'm not talking about today's America, but the reason America was able to come up with so many great things is that because of their freedom of thought. The invention of. I mean, the whole country was founded upon the idea of freedom, right? Freedom of religion. And then, that's why it's not strange that the French shipped the entire
That's what they'll tell
the
you, buddy.
Statue of Liberty. They did it out of admiration. They didn't do it just because they were scared of America at that time. They actually really praised them. And then that's why we came up with jeans. Jeans changed the entire world.
Dude, jeans are dope.
The idea, like iconic material of freedom, like you give us, like in the medievals and all that time, even in the 18th century, 17th century, their clothing was so goddamn uncomfortable. So formal. It was all about being formality and conventions and things like that. And suddenly we have jeans. Like gives you true freedom, right? Yeah. And cars, freedom of moves, and I mean, you name it. There are so many goddamn things. But what I'm trying to say is that when you have that freedom of thought, when you're not bound in something, in forms of usually authoritarians or sort of their nature, things of their nature, we're capable of doing something great.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's the nature of philosophy.
Yeah, I think so. And again, that's something great. Could be just great to your own personal truth. Mm-hmm. Like maybe others won't see it. Maybe by the standard of the society and the culture and the time period you live in, maybe it won't be considered great. Mm. But the greatness that we're referring to is like life satisfaction.
Yeah.
Like you could really get life satisfaction.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah. And then, I think hopefully our ideas can affect positively the successors. I think that's at least my hope for my life, that I can leave something behind me that can be studied. And then I mean, not to say that I'm a great thinker, that my work is going to be great to be studied. I'm not saying that, but at least leave behind something, some breadcrumb of some subject that people can talk about. And then expand upon it, build upon it, or at least challenge it, whatever, in any way, if I can contribute to humankind in terms of philosophy and science, whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, even culturally, to contribute has an impact on everything else, has an impact on the sciences, impact on everything. If you can impact culture, you can shift all of it. So you don't have to necessarily just check off science or
that's true,
math. You have so many avenues that have impacts. And again, that's I feel like the shortcoming of the time period we live in here in the West is that we think only certain things are valuable, or only certain things have inputs for these other outcomes. And we rob the reality that there's fucking an unmeasurable amount of inputs that we have, and we happen to have outcomes, and we only correlate so many of them. But that's the beauty about AI and technology, is that eventually we're going to have more understanding, a deeper, richer understanding of it. If that's going to be good or bad, who knows? That's the future's problem, not ours.
Also deserves another episode, right?
Yeah.
We'll probably talk about AI soon.
Yeah, it's an interest of ours.
We talked about it actually like 3 days ago, right? Yeah. But thank you for listening, guys. We'll probably do another episode for philosophy. I mean, there are so many great things to talk about.
We'll probably have to talk about like thinkers, and like we mentioned before, we want to kind of modernize it. Maybe talk about some modern day topics. And what people have been saying. Because look, you'd be surprised, but all the arguments that we're having today, they've been had for a very long time. Yeah. The subjects might have shifted a little bit, but the primary arguments are still the same. Kind of crazy. Progress, baby.
Yeah,
Progress.
but if you have any particular subjects you want us to talk about, please let us know.
Yeah. And we'll be honest with you. If we don't know shit about it, like we're not going to be like, we have an idea. Because I personally don't hold opinions on many things, because I don't think I have the capability to. Like I'm just being honest. I can only give you an opinion or a thought about something I really care about deeply. I can give you like some thoughts, but I will never ever say like, this is the truth. You need to believe this. This will help you. I'm not offering that to anybody. Yeah. I don't have the solution for you. I have the solution for me, and that's changing. It's going to be different tomorrow than it is today. Slightly different. Yeah. Even if I'm not aware of it. We also,
if there is a subject that we have no knowledge of, we're willing to investigate.
Yeah, I want to learn.
To study. Well, it's going to take us more time, but we can do that and then present our thoughts. Yeah. I mean, that's also possible. So any subject is welcome. So let us know. Thank you for listening, guys. See you next week. Bye.